The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with barely contained laughter. Hundreds of alien representatives from across the Milky Way gathered in the massive crystal dome that floated in deep space, their eyes fixed on the small human delegation standing at the center. Dr. Robert Adams stood firm, even as his heart pounded against his chest. Behind him, Commander Tom Wilson and Engineer Mary Porter kept their faces neutral, though their hands were clenched tight at their sides. The massive holographic display behind them showed the schematics of humanity's greatest achievement, the dimensional drive. "You expect us to believe," Grand Admiral Rex of the Centauri Alliance spoke, his crystalline form shimmering with barely contained amusement, "that your species, barely 500 years into space travel, has managed to crack dimensional barriers that our civilizations haven't solved in millions of years." More laughter echoed through the chamber. Some species didn't even bother hiding their mockery anymore. The jellyfish-like floaters near the ceiling pulsed with bright colors of amusement, while the silicon-based rock lords rumbled with their earthquake-like chuckles. "Our research is sound," Dr. Adams replied, his voice steady despite the humiliation. "We have successfully tested the prototype in controlled conditions." The math, interrupted Council Member Vale, her serpentine body coiling tighter in what humans had learned was their version of a dismissive gesture. "Your species still struggles with basic fifth-dimensional calculations. How dare you claim mastery over the seventh dimension?" Commander Wilson stepped forward. "With all due respect, Council Member Vale, humanity has always achieved what others thought impossible. We went from first flight to landing on our moon in less than 70 years. We..." Yes, Grand Admiral Rex waved a crystalline appendage. "We've all heard the human pride speech before. But this," he gestured to the schematics, "this is beyond pride. This is delusion." The holographic display showed the human vessel, the Starbreaker, with its unique engine design. To the council members, it looked primitive, crude, almost childlike in its simplicity compared to their own higher-dimensional mathematics. "Perhaps," spoke a deep voice from the shadows, "we should give them a chance to prove their claims." It was High Commander Drake of the Orion Collective, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. His black, oil-like form shifted forward. After all, watching them fail might finally teach humans their proper place in the cosmic order. More laughter followed, but this time with an edge of cruelty. Dr. Adams felt his face grow hot, but he maintained his composure. They had expected this reaction, had prepared for it, but the reality of standing before the most powerful beings in the galaxy while they laughed at humanity's greatest achievement still stung. "We will demonstrate the Starbreaker's capabilities," Mary Porter spoke up for the first time, her voice carrying across the chamber. "And when we do, remember this moment. Remember how you laughed." "Is that a threat, little human?" Vale hissed, her scales rattling. "No," Mary replied calmly. "It's a reminder. History is full of moments where the impossible became possible, where the laughable became legendary." Grand Admiral Rex rose to his full height, towering over the human delegation. "Very well. You have one standard galactic month to prepare your demonstration." His voice dripped with sarcasm. "The Council will convene again to witness this miracle of human engineering." As the human delegation was escorted out of the chamber, the laughter followed them. But none of them looked back. They knew what waited in the shipyards of Europa. They knew what the Starbreaker could do. "Well," Commander Wilson muttered as they boarded their shuttle, "that went about as expected." Dr. Adams nodded, already sending a message back to Earth. 1 month to show them all. "Get ready to contact the Europa team." "They won't be laughing for long," Mary added, her eyes fixed on the distant stars. As their shuttle pulled away from the council station, the laughter still echoed in their minds. But soon, very soon, that laughter would stop. The galaxy was about to learn that underestimating humanity was the last mistake they would ever make. The countdown to humanity's greatest moment had begun. Deep beneath Europa's icy surface, in a facility carved into the moon's core, The most ambitious project in human history was taking shape. The massive underground hangar hummed with energy as hundreds of engineers and scientists worked around the clock. At the center of it all stood the Starbreaker, its hull gleaming under the harsh artificial lights. Dr. James Miller stood at the observation deck, his tired eyes fixed on the ship that would either save humanity's reputation or become their greatest embarrassment. He hadn't slept properly in days, not since the message from the council meeting arrived. 1 month, he muttered, taking another sip of his cold coffee. They gave us 1 month to prove them wrong. The Starbreaker wasn't just a ship. It was a revolution in physical form. Its hull was lined with quantum processors that could calculate 7-dimensional space in real time. The engine core, a marvel of engineering that had cost trillions to develop, pulsed with a soft blue light that seemed to bend reality around it. "Dr. Miller," a voice called from behind him. He turned to see Anna White, his lead engineer, running towards him with a tablet in hand. "We've got the latest simulation results." He took the tablet, his eyes widening as he read the data. "These numbers, they're better than we hoped." Anna nodded excitedly. "The quantum field is stable up to 99.97% efficiency. We've never achieved that before. The new crystals we synthesized last week are working perfectly." Below them, teams of technicians swarmed around the Starbreaker like ants around a silver mountain. The ship was massive, nearly a kilometer long, but its true power lay in its ability to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "Have you told the crew yet?" James asked, handing the tablet back. "Not yet. Captain Thompson and his team are still in training. The neural interface is, well, it's taking some getting used to." The neural interface was perhaps the most controversial part of the project. To navigate 7-dimensional space, the crew needed to be able to perceive and understand it. The interface would temporarily expand their consciousness to comprehend dimensions that the human mind wasn't built to process. A loud alarm suddenly blared through the facility. Red lights flashed as technicians scattered from beneath the ship. "What's happening?" James demanded, pressing the comm button on his wrist device. "Field fluctuation in the engine core," responded Chief Engineer Mark Davis. "The containment field is holding, but we're seeing some unusual readings." James and Anna raced down to the main floor. As they approached the engine section, they could feel it. A strange sensation, as if reality itself was bending around them. Some of the technicians looked queasy. "Show me the readings," James ordered, reaching the control station. The screens displayed a cascade of numbers and graphs that would have looked like nonsense to most people. But to James, they told a story, one that made his heart race. "It's not a malfunction," he said slowly, a smile spreading across his face. "The engine is working exactly as it should. It's creating a stable 7-dimensional pocket right here in the hangar." The technicians looked at each other nervously. Working with technology that bent the laws of physics had that effect on people. "Sir," Anna pointed to one of the readings, "if these numbers are right, we could potentially achieve full dimensional shift weeks ahead of schedule." James nodded, his mind racing with possibilities. "Get Captain Thompson and his crew down here. They need to see this." As the word spread through the facility, more people gathered around the engine section. They could all feel it now, the subtle wrongness in the air, the way light seemed to bend at impossible angles near the engine core. Captain David Thompson arrived with his crew, their neural interface implants glowing softly at the bases of their skulls. "Dr. Miller, what are we looking at?" "We're looking at proof," James replied, gesturing to the engine. "Proof that we weren't just making empty boasts to the council. This engine doesn't just theorize about higher dimensions. It reaches out and touches them." The engine's pulsing grew stronger, and for a brief moment, everyone in the hangar saw it. Shadows of shapes that shouldn't exist, geometries that the human mind couldn't process. Then it stabilized, leaving behind a sense of awe and possibility. 1 month, Captain Thompson said, staring at the ship with determination. 1 month to show the galaxy what humanity can do. James smiled. They won't know what hit them. The United Space Command's central chamber was silent as Admiral Jack Hayes read the latest message from the Galactic Council. His weathered face grew darker with each word, and the other military and civilian leaders around the massive oak table waited tensely. "They've crossed a line," he finally said, placing the tablet down with controlled precision. "The Centauri Alliance has moved a battle fleet into our solar system. They call it a precautionary measure against our dangerous experiments." Director Emma Brooks of the Science Division stood up, her face pale. "They can't do that. We have sovereign rights over our system under galactic law." "Laws," General Peter Ross laughed bitterly, "only matter when you have the power to enforce them. And right now, every advanced species out there thinks we're children playing with matches." The holographic display in the center of the room showed the alien fleet's position just beyond Neptune's orbit. 50 ships, each larger than anything humanity had ever built, except for the Starbreaker. "The Council's message is clear," Admiral Hayes continued. "Either we abandon the Starbreaker project, or they'll ensure the safety of the galaxy by force." The room erupted in angry voices. 2 centuries of being treated like cosmic backwater primitives had left humanity with a deep well of resentment. Now, when they were finally on the verge of proving themselves, the galaxy's powers wanted to shut them down. "What about the Starbreaker?" asked Colonel Maria Foster. "Is it ready?" Dr. James Miller's hologram flickered to life from his station on Europa. "The ship is at 97% capability. We've solved the dimensional stability issues, and the crew has fully adapted to the neural interface. We're ready." Admiral Hayes stood slowly, his decision visible in his stance. "Then it's time we show them exactly what humanity can do. Not in a month. Not when they expect it. Now." "Sir," General Ross leaned forward, "if we move now, we'll be violating the Council's direct orders. They could declare us a rogue species. They already treat us like one," Director Brooks pointed out. "At least this way, we force them to take us seriously." The Admiral nodded to Dr. Miller's hologram. "How long would it take to get the Starbreaker to the Council station?" "Using conventional drives." "About 3 days." "Using the dimensional drive?" Miller smiled. 3 minutes. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They weren't just going to demonstrate their technology. They were going to make an entrance that would shake the galaxy's foundations. "There will be consequences," Colonel Foster warned. "The Council doesn't forget challenges to their authority." Admiral Hayes looked around the room, meeting each person's eyes. "For too long, we've played by their rules, accepted their limitations, smiled through their mockery. But humanity didn't reach the stars by accepting limitations." He pressed a button, and the holographic display changed to show the Starbreaker in its Europa dock. The ship was beautiful, a perfect blend of human ingenuity and impossible physics. "Captain Thompson," he called, and another hologram appeared, the Starbreaker's commander, standing proud in his uniform. "Sir, prepare your ship for immediate launch. Your orders are to proceed directly to the Galactic Council station. Show them exactly what humanity is capable of." Thompson's hologram smiled. "With pleasure, sir. We've been ready for this." "One more thing," Admiral Hayes added. "Make sure you get there before their fleet can react. I want to see their faces when they realize what we've achieved." As the holograms faded and orders began flying across the room, Director Brooks approached the Admiral. "This is going to change everything," she said quietly. "That's the point," he replied. "They thought they could keep us in our place forever. They forgot that humanity's greatest advances have always come when someone tells us something is impossible." Above Europa, in the darkness of space, the Starbreaker's engines began to glow. The time for talking was over. The time for proof had come. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, a Centauri battle fleet was about to learn that their precautionary measure had come far too late. The Galactic Council station hung like a jeweled spider in the void, its crystalline arms stretching out into space. Thousands of alien vessels surrounded it, their weapons primed and sensors alert. The Centauri battle fleet had arrived just hours before, taking position in what they considered a show of force. None of them were prepared for what happened next. Reality twisted. Space itself seemed to hiccup. Then, with a flash that shouldn't have been possible in the vacuum of space, the Starbreaker appeared. Not at the designated arrival zone, but directly in the heart of the Council's defense grid. Inside the Council chamber, alarms blared. Grand Admiral Rex's crystalline form vibrated with shock. Impossible. Their ship was in their home system just minutes ago. Captain David Thompson stood calmly on the Starbreaker's bridge, watching the chaos unfold on their view screens. His neural interface hummed softly, letting him perceive the higher dimensions that the ship had just traversed. "Status report," he ordered. "All systems nominal." First Officer Linda Reed responded, her fingers dancing over the control panel. "Dimensional drive cooling as expected. We're being scanned by approximately 3,000 different ships." The ship's communication system crackled. "Human vessel," a voice thundered. "You have violated Council space and bypassed all security protocols. Power down immediately or face destruction." Thompson smiled. "Open a channel to the Council chamber." Full holographic projection. The bridge crew worked quickly, and suddenly the entire bridge of the Starbreaker was projected into the Council chamber. The assembled alien representatives could see Thompson and his crew as if they were standing right there. "Honorable Council members," Thompson spoke, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You asked for a demonstration. We're here to provide one." High Commander Drake's oil-like form rippled with agitation. "You were given 1 month. This violation." "We decided not to wait," Thompson interrupted. "After all, why delay when we can do this?" He nodded to his crew. The Starbreaker's engines pulsed, and suddenly the massive ship was simultaneously present in 7 different locations around the Council station. Each version was solid, real, and completely intact. The alien sensors went wild. The most advanced civilizations in the galaxy watched as their instruments showed them something that should have been impossible. A single ship existing in multiple places at once, each one as real as the others. "What you're seeing," Thompson explained to the stunned Council, "is the Starbreaker existing across 7 dimensions simultaneously. Each version you see is the same ship, just occupying different dimensional spaces." Council member Vale's serpentine form had frozen in shock. "But the energy requirements alone are enormous," Thompson agreed. "For your technology. For ours, this is just the beginning." To prove his point, the 7 versions of the Starbreaker began to move in perfect synchronization, weaving an impossible dance through space. They passed through each other, merged, split apart, each movement defying the basic laws of physics as the galaxy understood them. The Centauri battle fleet, pride of the most militant species in the galaxy, suddenly looked primitive in comparison. Their weapons, designed to work in 3-dimensional space, would be useless against a ship that could simply step sideways into another dimension. "We came here today," Thompson continued, "not to threaten, not to dominate, but to show you that humanity is ready. Ready to join the Council not as subordinates, but as equals." Grand Admiral Rex had recovered enough to speak. "And if we refuse?" All 7 versions of the Starbreaker suddenly converged on a single point, the ship reassembling itself directly in front of the Council station's main viewport. The display of power was unmistakable. "Then you would be ignoring reality," Thompson said simply. "And humanity has proven today that reality is far more flexible than you thought." The silence in the Council chamber was absolute. The laughter that had so recently filled these halls had been replaced by something else. Understanding. Understanding that everything had changed. Humanity hadn't just built a new kind of ship. They had rewritten the rules of what was possible. And the galaxy would never be the same. Captain Thompson stood tall, his crew behind him, as they waited for the Council's response. The demonstration was complete. Now came the hard part, helping the galaxy adapt to a new era where humanity could no longer be ignored or dismissed. The council chamber's tense silence was shattered when an aide rushed in, their multifaceted eyes flashing with panic. The sensors, they're showing something impossible. The Starbreaker's engines had begun to pulse with a new intensity. The ship's quantum processors, running calculations that would have taken other civilizations millennia to complete, were preparing for something unprecedented. Captain Thompson, Dr. Miller's voice came through the neural interface. "We're ready for full dimensional cascade." Thompson nodded, feeling the ship's systems through his neural link. "To all council vessels, this is Captain Thompson. I recommend you maintain your current distance. What you're about to witness has never been attempted at this scale." The Starbreaker's hull began to shimmer, not with light, but with something more fundamental. Reality itself was bending around it. The quantum field generators spun up to full power, their hum resonating through dimensions that most species couldn't even perceive. "By the Ancient Ones," High Commander Drake whispered, his oil-like form rippling with disbelief. "Their ship, it's affecting the fundamental structure of space-time." The Starbreaker wasn't just moving through space anymore. It was manipulating the fabric of reality itself. The ship began to glow with impossible colors. Colors that shouldn't exist in three-dimensional space. Some council members had to look away, their brains unable to process what they were seeing. First Officer Reed's voice was steady as she reported. "Dimensional barriers 1 through 3, breached. 4 through 6, engaging. 7th dimension interface, active." The ship's presence began to multiply, not like before with 7 copies, but in ways that defied comprehension. Parts of it existed in dimensions where time flowed backwards, where space curved in on itself, where the laws of physics were more like suggestions. The Council's most advanced sensors, capable of detecting phenomena across multiple dimensions, simply shut down. They couldn't process what they were seeing. The Starbreaker wasn't just traveling through higher dimensions. It was actively reshaping them. "This is impossible," Council Member Vale hissed, her scales rattling with fear. "No species has ever managed to manipulate the 7th dimension. The energy requirements alone would be impossible with your understanding of physics," Thompson interrupted. "But humanity didn't accept those limitations. We found another way." The demonstration reached its peak. The Starbreaker now existed in a state that defied description. It was everywhere and nowhere, its very presence warping the fundamental forces of the universe. Council members watched in awe as their reality rippled like water around the human vessel. Through his neural interface, Thompson could feel it all. The ship wasn't just a machine anymore. It was a key, unlocking doors in reality that had remained sealed since the beginning of time. The power was intoxicating, but he maintained control, remembering his training. 7-dimensional matrix stabilized, Reed reported. "We're maintaining full control across all dimensional planes." The alien vessels surrounding them had backed away, their sensors overwhelmed, their weapon systems useless against something that could simply step outside of normal spacetime. The mighty Centauri battle fleet, pride of the galaxy, looked like toys compared to what humanity had achieved. Grand Admiral Rex's crystalline form had lost some of its shine. How did you achieve this?" "By thinking differently," Thompson replied. "While you were building bigger engines and more powerful weapons, we were questioning the nature of reality itself. This ship doesn't just travel through space. It rewrites the rules of what's possible." As if to demonstrate, the Starbreaker began to fold space around itself, creating patterns in reality that looked like fractals made of pure mathematics. Energy cascaded across dimensions, each wave making the Council's most advanced technology look primitive in comparison. "We can stop now," Thompson said quietly, "or we can show you what this ship can really do. The choice is yours." The Council chamber remained silent, the representatives of 1,000 worlds watching as humanity demonstrated power they had thought impossible. The laughter that had once filled these halls was gone, replaced by something else, respect, tinged with fear. The galaxy's power structure had just shifted, and everyone knew it. Humanity hadn't just built a better ship, they had unlocked the fundamental secrets of the universe itself. And they were just getting started. Silence filled the council chamber like a physical presence. The Starbreaker had powered down its dimensional drives, but the aftereffects still rippled through reality. Ghostly echoes of its demonstration lingered in the sensors of every ship in the vicinity. Grand Admiral Rex was the first to break the silence, his crystalline form dulled with what could only be described as shock. I have served on this council for 300 years. In that time, I have seen technologies that would seem like magic to lesser species. But this, he paused, struggling to find words. This transcends everything we thought we knew. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been called immediately after the demonstration. Representatives from thousands of worlds sat in stunned silence, their earlier mockery forgotten in the face of what they had witnessed. Captain Thompson stood before them, his neural interface still humming softly as the Starbreaker's systems cooled down. What you saw today was only a fraction of what the dimensional drive can do. Humanity is prepared to share this technology, under the right conditions. High Commander Drake's oil-like form surged forward. Share it? You would trust the galaxy with such power. Trust must start somewhere, Thompson replied. But first, humanity demands full recognition, not as a primitive species to be patronized, but as equals, as innovators who have achieved what you thought impossible. The council chamber erupted in overlapping voices. Some called for immediate alliance with Earth, while others warned of the dangers of such powerful technology. The Centauri fleet commanders, their pride shattered, demanded guarantees that humanity wouldn't use the dimensional drive as a weapon. Dr. Miller's hologram appeared beside Thompson. The technology can't be weaponized in the way you fear. It requires a complete understanding of higher dimensional mathematics and quantum mechanics that took us decades to develop. You can't simply reverse engineer it from a captured ship. Council member Vale slithered forward. And we're supposed to believe that humans, barely out of their planetary cradle, achieved this understanding alone. We achieved it, Thompson said firmly, because we weren't bound by your assumptions about what was impossible. While you laughed at our efforts, we were rewriting the laws of physics. The evidence was undeniable. The Starbreaker's demonstration had been recorded by thousands of ships, its impossible movements and dimensional manipulations captured in perfect detail. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations were faced with the uncomfortable reality that they had been surpassed by a species they had dismissed as primitive. The Council will need time to deliberate, Grand Admiral Rex announced. This changes everything. Our entire understanding of dimensional physics, our technological development paths, our defensive strategies. Take all the time you need, Thompson replied. But remember, the galaxy just became a much larger place. Humanity has opened doors that can't be closed again. As the council members discussed among themselves, Thompson received a private message from Earth. Admiral Hayes' words were simple. Well done. The galaxy will never be the same. The various alien species in the chamber were already forming new alliances, making deals, preparing for a new era where humanity's dimensional technology would reshape everything. Some looked afraid, others excited, but none were laughing anymore. Captain, First Officer Reed called through his neural interface, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from several council ships. They appear to be attempting to scan our dimensional drive. Thompson smiled. Let them try. The technology that had taken humanity to the seventh dimension wasn't just advanced, it was revolutionary. It required a complete paradigm shift in thinking that these species, bound by millions of years of traditional physics, would struggle to achieve. The Starbreaker hung in space outside the Council station, a testament to human ingenuity and determination. Its very presence served as a reminder that the galaxy's power structure had been irreversibly altered. The age of mockery is over, Thompson announced to the Council. Welcome to a new era of galactic civilization, one where humanity stands as equals among the stars. The Council members looked at each other, knowing that everything had changed. The species they had laughed at had become the species that had unlocked the secrets of reality itself. And this was only the beginning. 1 month after the Starbreaker's historic demonstration, Earth's orbital space bustled with unprecedented activity. Diplomatic vessels from across the galaxy crowded the spaceways, their designs as varied as the species they represented. Each carried ambassadors eager to establish relations with humanity, the species that had reshaped galactic power overnight. In the newly constructed Terran Diplomatic Center floating above the Pacific Ocean, Captain Thompson stood beside Dr. Miller, watching ships arrive through the vast observation window. "Hard to believe this all started with them laughing at us," Miller said, sipping his coffee. "Now they can't arrive fast enough to make deals." Thompson nodded, his neural interface picking up the dimensional echoes of ships arriving through conventional space. "The Council ratified our membership yesterday. Fastest approval in galactic history." The chamber behind them was filled with human and alien diplomats discussing technology sharing agreements, defense pacts, and trade deals. The Centauri Alliance, once humanity's biggest critic, had been among the first to propose a full military partnership. "Ambassador Wilson is handling the 10th request for dimensional drive technology today," Miller observed. "They still don't understand that we can't simply hand over the blueprints." "Would you trust them with it?" Thompson asked. "Most of these species still think in 3 dimensions. Giving them 7th-dimensional technology would be like giving a fusion reactor to a Bronze Age civilization." Their conversation was interrupted by an alert. A holographic display showed a massive ship emerging from hyperspace, the personal vessel of Grand Admiral Rex himself. The crystalline ship caught Earth's sunlight, sparkling like a diamond constellation. "They're afraid," Thompson said quietly. "Not just of us, but of what we represent. We proved that all their assumptions about technological development were wrong." Miller smiled. "We proved more than that. We proved that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to think beyond established limitations." The diplomatic chamber had grown more crowded. Species that once wouldn't acknowledge humanity's existence now competed for their attention. Trade agreements were being signed, cultural exchanges arranged, and joint scientific ventures planned. "Captain Thompson," a voice called. It was High Commander Drake, his oil-like form flowing toward them. "The Council has a proposal for you." "Another request for the dimensional drive?" Thompson asked. "No," Drake replied. "We want you to lead a joint expedition. There are regions of space we've never been able to explore, dimensions we've never been able to reach. With the Starbreaker's capabilities, you want us to be pathfinders," Miller finished. "Yes. Your ship has opened up possibilities we never imagined. The Council believes that together we could discover wonders beyond our current understanding." Thompson and Miller exchanged glances. This was what they had hoped for. Not dominance, but partnership. A chance to explore the universe with the combined knowledge of 1,000 worlds. "Of course," Drake added, "the Council has also established new protocols for dimensional technology research. We've learned our lesson about dismissing new ideas." Outside, more ships arrived. Earth's night side was visible now, its cities gleaming like stars. Humanity had changed in the past month, growing more confident, but also more aware of their responsibilities. "We accept," Thompson said. "On one condition, we share what we find. No more secrets, no more mockery of primitive species. The galaxy is too vast for that kind of thinking." Drake's form rippled in agreement. "The old order died the day your ship danced through 7 dimensions. We're all explorers now." As they finalized the details, Thompson received a message from the Starbreaker's crew. They were ready for their next mission, eager to push even further into the unknown. The neural interface hummed with their excitement. "The galaxy's not laughing anymore," Miller mused, watching the diplomatic proceedings. "But maybe that's for the best. We've given them something better than amusement. We've given them hope." Beyond Earth's orbit, the Starbreaker waited, its dimensional drive ready to unlock more secrets of the universe. Humanity had earned their place among the stars not through force or fear, but through innovation and determination. The new order had begun, and this time, everyone would explore the impossible together.